Yes, everybody, welcome back to Football United TV. I'm here with Marley, chilling, who is chilling, by the way. Nice and relaxed, aren't you, there in Brazil right now?
I try.
He tries. He tries. Doesn't have to
Try.
try too much with that beautiful weather that you got out there. I can see the sun poking through that curtain there on your right.
You're wrong. You're wrong.
Am I wrong?
Quite the crappy day actually. Yeah, we're expecting it has rained already. We're expecting more rain, and it's hot at the same time. Yeah, it's kind of crappy. But yeah, chilling like a villain. I try.
It's
Try to
nice
stay
and
calm.
beautiful here, Marley, in England at the moment. It's hot. It's like 21, 22 at the moment in October, which is
Okay.
quite crazy.
I would never call that hot, but that's
No.
pleasant. That's pleasant. I like it. I like it. 21. That's close to ideal for me.
We're here for the Football Politics show. We're going to be talking about the World Cup in 2030 and the host, because it's going to be apparently hosted between three continents. We'll get into that straight after this beautiful intro that we got. Yes, welcome back to the Football Politics show. I'm here with Marley. Of course, you saw the intro. And today we're talking about the World Cup host for 2030. Now, it's going to be between three continents. That's South America, that's Europe, and North Africa. Marley, mate, what I probably should do before we even start this stream, really, to be fair, is shout out our very good sponsors, which is
Yes.
Galaxy Kits. And here it is now. You can go check out the website.
What?
Sorry about feedback.
Yeah.
Don't worry about it. Galasso Kits is where you want to look out. Go check out their website as well. It's brilliant. You can get shirts from all over the world, right, Marley? Like from every single league. And there's some surprise packages as well you can get, where you get like a kit that you might not know, like a mystery box.
Yeah, no, they have also. I mean, I don't want to say every single league in the world because I'd be like it's outside of my knowing there. But I do know that they have they cover a lot of leagues. Literally have stuff from second division Congolese football, Indonesian football, all the way to the like top football that we're used to seeing more often. You can most likely find the two kits that we're wearing right now in
Oh,
Golasso kits as well. Like if you look it up. I mean, this is a third kit for Fluminense, so it's slightly rare. Boca's home kit usually stays like kind of similar, but I know they're gonna have like a lot of Boca paraphernalia. And we
yeah.
have been slacking a bit on the Fita show, but if you go to the last one we did, you can still get a promo code for 15% off anything if you just get the promo code that we give away there. And we're expected to do one again soon. We apologize for the delay in the Fita shows. That we hope that you're missing them because we miss doing them. It's just like things have been tricky, but we're getting back on track soon. But yeah,
I
you see
couldn't
Brazil.
I couldn't
What?
find Fluminense though, mate. Oh, there we go. Look. Alternative.
It's exactly mine. Yeah, it's exactly mine. Number 9 as well, Fred. That's what I'm wearing. It's a very special kit. Was a third kit back when we won the league for the last time back in 2012. Fred's best year and all of that, like that got him to be like the biggest player in Fluminense's history, in my opinion. So yeah, emblematic kit and good price as well. You look at that, like it's and you can get a discount on top of that as well. So
It's all authentic as well. That's the thing, isn't it?
100% authentic. They're not gonna have anything that kind of looks authentic. No, 100% authentic. So if you ever don't find something there, that's the actual reason. Like they're never gonna sell like similar stuff. It's always gonna be 100% authentic.
Absolutely. And you can also, like Marley says, you can find out the promo code in the Theta shows as well. So you get discount from that price as well, 15 to 20%. So go check it out. The Theta show, which will be back hopefully maybe this Sunday or the Sunday after, but we'll sort something out,
Yeah.
Marley. It's all coming. And of course, at the end of the show as well, me and Marley are going to talk about our preview because we're doing a watch along for the Copa Libertadores final, which is coming up on the 4th of November. And that's why we're both wearing, I'm wearing Boca and he's wearing Fluminense. What you say, Marley?
I'm not sure I want to talk about that too much. I'm
No.
so nervous, mate. I'm so nervous. Being I'm a People know me by now, like in this channel. I'm a Fluminense and an Arsenal fan. Two amazing clubs. You're never gonna see me complaining about the teams that I picked, right? So I love them. They're the reason I love football. But being a gunner and a tricolor, it's kind of tough to believe that we can actually win in the European competition, right? Like we have that feeling like, are we actually able to pull this off? Like Arsenal was much better than Chelsea when we lost the Europa League final, for example, 4-1. Fluminense lost the Libertadores final to Liga Universitaria, a huge club in Ecuador, but a smaller and weaker club than Fluminense back then, now as well. We lost a final to them the year after as well. So it's just that we just have that fear within us, and now we have to wait a month for the final to happen. I'm assuming some Fluminense fans are gonna be testing their hearts like a lot, and I hope there's no like fatal problems there because I know I'm suffering.
Yeah. We'll talk a little bit about it at the end there,
Yeah.
Marley. So do check out. We've got a watch along coming on the 4th of November. Boca Juniors versus Fluminense. That's for the final of the Copa Libertadores. So do tune in for that. Around about 10 o'clock, we'll start. But we wanted to talk about the World Cup, of course, Marley, 2030. And it's been given to pretty much 3 different continents, mate. So we got, of course, Paraguay, we've got Argentina, we got Uruguay, and then we've got 2 in Europe, which is Spain and Portugal, and then we've got North Africa with Morocco. Let's start off though, Marley, with the fact that it's going to be held 3 matches apparently at the start of the competition in Paraguay, Argentina, and Uruguay. And the reasons why this has to happen, I think you can probably tell them as much as I can, right?
Yeah, I mean, the first ever World Cup was played in Uruguay, right, back in 1930, which they won as well. So just, I feel like the competition should have been in South America
Yeah, I
anyway.
agree.
Like it should have been there altogether. I don't necessarily like this culture of like splitting the World Cup into a few countries. Uruguay is a very tiny country, so I guess it kind of makes sense if you were gonna do it in Uruguay to do it both in Uruguay and Paraguay because that's where CONMEBOL is. Um, and then Argentina just being the last South American champion, like kind of makes sense to put them together there. But then when you create this thing where you're literally gonna have like at least one game in 6 different countries, that's a freaking mess. That's a mess. I just can't see it any other way. We'll get to that, but just for the reasons being, that's what I think, right? Like from the very little that I know and that I looked up, that's it, right? Like we're just trying to bring the after 100 years, right? Like the 25th World Cup, trying to bring it back to the first place where it was played, and then just adding 1 or 2 more countries so that it makes sense and that probably like logistically it's slightly simpler.
Yeah.
The countries are not going to have to spend money on like renewing stadiums or building new stadiums because with 3 countries, you're most likely going to have enough stadiums that fit the criterias, right?
Yeah, I completely agree. Just to read on the article that the Guardian came out with. So The 2030 World Cup is to be played on 3 continents after Morocco, Portugal, and Spain won the race to host the 48-team tournament, but Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay were handed the opening 3 matches. The decision, which caught even seasoned FIFA watchers by surprise, means the World Cup 2030 will involve teams playing in 6 countries, each of which will qualify automatically. The World Cup has never been played on more than one continent before, and proposals for a tournament to be played over thousands of miles was met with quick shock by climate groups, of course. The decision and the timing appeared to pave the way for Saudi Arabia to host the World Cup in 2034, and within hours, the kingdom unveiled its bid for the tournament. The Saudis had once been expected to lead a bid alongside Greece and Egypt for 2030, only to stand aside earlier this year, now with FIFA inviting bids from Asia and Oceania to host in 2034. The Saudi Football Federation said it intends to bid alone. So I think going back on that as well, Marley, the fact that the reason why Paraguay want to have a say in it is because that's where the headquarters is for CONMEBOL, right?
Yeah, yeah. That's I don't see a whole bunch of other reasons. Well, I mean, it's another big country in South America, so like if you got to pick a third, like it doesn't, you wouldn't pick Brazil. We just had a World Cup. It's kind of a massive country. Like it doesn't really make sense to combine it with anything else. So if you're just if the 2 first countries are Argentina and Uruguay, just geographically, you got to stick with either Chile or Paraguay. Paraguay's smaller, and you do have the headquarters as well. So I think it's smaller. I might have just said I think it's smaller, but you have the headquarters, so it makes sense as a third country. But if it was to actually be in this place, I wouldn't even be surprised if it was all the southern countries in South America, which are those 4, right? Like Chile, Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay.
Yeah, I understand with Paraguay, and I definitely understand with Uruguay. Of course, it's been 100 years since they won the World Cup, and that was on home turf as well, right?
Yeah, that was home turf.
So it kind of makes sense. I also don't understand why it was Uruguay in the first place, mate, either, which is a like back way back when. I don't know why it was picked as Uruguay, but it's nice that the fact that they've got that chance to be able to bring it back after 100 years, because I mean Uruguay have had a big presence in the World Cup. They've won 2 World Cups as well, haven't they?
Yeah, there were
you don't
like
remember one of them, but you do remember one of them, don't you, on your home soil?
I mean, remember is not necessarily the right word because I was very far away from being alive there. Like that's actually the year my father was born, 1950.
But you know the information. That's what I meant.
I do. The Maracanazo, yeah, very famous story there. I mean, mate, I wasn't around. You weren't around. You might want to ask Anthony. He might remember. But it's, but just I mean, I just from the fact that in 20 years, right? Because sorry, it's not actually the 25th World Cup. It's because we missed 2, right? Because of the World War. So we had 30, 34, 38. Then it was only in 50. So it was Uruguay, 2 Italy, and Uruguay won again in 1950. So I'm assuming like back in the beginning of the days, like Uruguay had a reputation that like they showed why, right? And it's just like it's mate. If you're an alien, you're observing the sport. Like Uruguay is the most remarkable country in the world when it comes to football. Like a country with 3 million people, having won 2 World Cups, never having sucked, right? Like Uruguay was never terrible.
It's the size of Wales, Marley, I think. Size of Wales.
Yeah, no, it's tiny. It's tiny. Like Cavani and Suarez were literally born like I don't know, 2 kilometers away from one another. It's the fact that they've had so many world class players. It's just something remarkable. Like there's something in the water there. There's something in the DNA. It's just remarkable. If Brazil was the size of Uruguay, we wouldn't have won a World Cup. Like never, ever. And if Uruguay was the size of Brazil, I'm pretty sure they would have won like 10. So It's remarkable. But yeah, the one that kind of confuses me is Argentina because I know they're the last country to have won, but in 1930 in 2030 there will have been two more World Cups, and they might win again. I don't think it's going to happen, but they might win again. It just, I don't know. It's kind of confusing, like why that comes into play. Like I don't see that one. But like it's one of the homes of football. It's always going to be cool if you have. It would be nice to see another. I've never seen a World Cup in Argentina, right? So I think that's something cool. I'm pretty sure the environment would have been like nuts.
Yeah, you weren't around in 1978, were you, Marley?
I was not. No, I was not.
It
You
was
know.
it was actually quite a bad thing for the country at the time, wasn't it? The World Cup in Argentina was political problems going on as well, and
I
don't
would
know if
not
you.
know, man. I would not know.
Yeah,
I'll take your word for it, but I would not know.
yeah. There was a lot of issues with that World Cup, like bad and good. To be fair, Argentina wasn't in a very good place politically at the time. Um, Poverty stricken as well, and hosting a World Cup during that time. I think Argentinians were quite furious, but then at the end of the day, winning it changed that whole feeling. I don't know. I read something about it. It's quite strange how winning a World Cup in your country when your country's going through so much turmoil, like really helped the country in a sense because they went on to win the '86. Like and they brought out teams, players like Maradona, etc. as well. So there was, I don't know, a future for Argentina, of course. But I can understand why, mate, because obviously they won the last tournament, and I think, like you said as well, it's about money, isn't it? I think with
It's
South America and being able to like Uruguay couldn't host it on their own. They haven't got the financial gains to be able to host such a big tournament, including the fact, Marley, that it's going to be 48 teams.
yeah, no, that makes it harder because Uruguay. I'm assuming this is a guess, right? Like taking the information completely out of my butt here. So don't take my word for it. Do some research if you actually want to know. But
You're
I,
going to
I
be
would say I would say that Uruguay has like at the most 3 or 4 stadiums that can actually hold a World Cup game, right? So yeah, they'd have to build a bunch of stadiums, and you come to situations like even in Brazil or South Africa where you build a bunch of stadiums that are expensive stadiums, but then you don't have a lot of purposes for them afterwards. Like we have stadiums in Brazil that don't have games. Like it's massive stadiums that were built for the World Cup in the middle of the Amazon or like in Brasilia where you don't have a big club with a big fan base to fill that. So you
is that
have like
Manaus?
Manaus, yeah, that's the capital of Amazonas, which is like the
And they have a
biggest state where
stadium
you
out
have
there, don't they, as well? That hasn't really
yeah,
been used since the World Cup.
yeah, you have like 3 or 4 stadiums in Brazil that are they're great stadiums, but they're useless. So much money spent, and yeah, with Uruguay, if they ever hold a World Cup again, like they're not gonna be alone because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't make sense. Now they're gonna adapt to this. It's better. You have like you have more than I don't like it, but it's better, right? Like you have more than one country holding it. Then like they're all gonna make a lot of money from it. It's not as big of a risk. Like you're not gonna build as much. You're not opening. You're not like creating room for scandals because people reading Anthony's comment, but people outside of the countries don't get to know this too much. But like the amount of money spent in the World Cup in Brazil, for example, like it's scandalous. It's scandalous. Like people in Brazil know how much was stolen from that situation, how much criminal activity came from that situation. Just like very rich criminals like making money off the population, just stealing money. Brazil literally spent more money than the 3 World Cups before it combined. So
What,
this kind
Qatar
of
as well?
no, because Qatar came afterwards. So
Sorry, you meant before. Yeah, sorry. Yeah.
I'm talking about South Africa, Germany, and Japan and Korea.
Oh, I can
So
understand that.
these three were South Africa, mate. How did Brazil have to spend more money than South Africa to build stadiums?
It's a good question.
Right, right. Like it makes no sense. Like we have.
You add more to you. You're more of a footballing country than South Africa are. So for South Africa, they were just like depending on the other sports that they do showcase themselves on, which is rugby, etc., and trying to sort their stadiums out. Which you don't really have that. You don't really have a rugby team like South Africa does, or a cricket team. So for you, building your stadiums, which is always going to be predominantly on football, right? I mean, maybe that adds an equation in there.
I don't think the other sports matter too much. Like if you want to talk about it, like the culture, the volleyball culture in Brazil is huge. MMA culture is freaking huge. We've had like world
Yeah, but
class
you don't have
tennis
stadiums
players.
at 60,000 people for MMA, do you? Or
No, okay. That's a solid point. But then again, like Brazil, whatever stadiums Brazil built didn't need to be built because we had enough stadiums, like enough cities with big enough stadiums that at the most would need just some
yeah,
restructuring, right? Like you didn't need to build stadiums from the floor up. It's and yeah, it was scandalous. This is not part of the subject. I don't need to stay on this too much, but just helping the countries like this, like having so that they don't need, I don't know, 20, 12 good stadiums. They only need like 5. So it's easier to cope with it. But mate, this way, like I'm coming to a point in my life where I'm starting to fear that I'm getting annoying because, like I'm Brazilian. Like I was born and raised in the western part of the world, which is the most capitalistic continent in the world. I'm also very influenced by American culture, having spent so many years there and loving the country so much, considering it as my home. I never want to get to the point where I hate capitalism, but football is challenging me because
you don't hate capitalism.
I don't hate capitalism, mate. Like I don't,
I do.
I haven't really seen many better alternatives, right? Like I see it as like it sucks, but it's the best option we have. But football has been challenging my foundation, right? Because like money is ruining the sport, man. It's
I've
ruining the
always
sport.
thought about the best ideas to make a perfect civilization is to literally cherry pick from all the ideas around the world, from past to new, and just creating a world off of the best ideas from different cultures and different places.
Who's gonna pick what's the best?
But that's different. Democracy will we will as
I get what you're saying, but this level of conversation does not exist in the current world. My man it has never existed. And I like that you. I mean, this is not the show, right? Like we're talking about football politics, but just very quickly, like
we
it's
can go on to it. It's fine.
yeah, this utopia is so unexisting. Like you were saying that back in 1978, it was a volatile time politically for Argentina. Mate, ever since South America got its independence as a whole, there have been very little periods in very few countries where it was actually solid.
I agree.
Brazil hasn't really had like solid political periods, and we're on the better side of South America because we have a lot of money.
I guess it was just like
But
Argentina at the time were like, okay, this is where we actually are at rock bottom. That it felt like it couldn't get any bad at that point. That's what a lot of people were saying around that time. From the documentaries and stuff I've seen about the World Cup in Argentina in '78. I'll send you something, mate. Anyway, as well, it enlightened me on how hosting a World Cup could affect the people in that very country as well. Like we're talking about South Africa as well, and how big of a deal that was for Africa to host its first ever one. And maybe going on to that, Marley, as well, talking about Africa hosting, we've got the Iberian Peninsula, which I would kind of include Morocco, because you can actually see Morocco from the southern coasts of
yeah,
Spain.
yeah, it's the same area.
So people complaining about Morocco hosting it with Portugal and Spain, it's not the same argument, is it? Really?
No. It's a swim away. No, that's
Well,
absolutely fine, mate.
not at
Yeah,
night.
with
Don't do it, people. Don't
no,
do
no.
it.
I'm not asking you
You're
to go
encouraging
swim
people to
with.
do it. Swim the
Yeah, no.
peninsula.
With airplanes existing, like it's Portugal and Spain and Morocco, it's literally the same thing. Like, it's so close to one another. So if you're using airplanes, it's fine. It gets confusing when, mate. I don't know how it's gonna be. I don't know if they're planning on having the entirety of the first round be in South America, because that way it's still freaking confusing, but it's not unfair.
I think it's
Because
the
if you
first three matches. So just Argentina's first match, Paraguay's first match, and Uruguay's first match. Not,
that's in,
I thought it was the first three games for each club,
mm.
right? So I thought it was the first three matches of the group stage. I don't know why you would do that. And then, but it's not. It's just three matches. I don't get it. Like, who's going to be the ones to? Because you're going
It's
to have someone from another continent to go all the way over there to
yeah,
play that game
it's
and
very
then come back.
unfair. It's very unfair. Like you're forcing. I mean, you might argue that it's not unfair to Argentina or Paraguay or Uruguay, because yeah, they're gonna have this home advantage on the first game. So you might compensate for the fact that they're gonna have more fatigue. But what about, let me randomly select. What about Switzerland, Ghana, and Costa Rica, who are going to have to travel to a whole other continent just to play a game? Then they're going to have to go to Europe, where like some of the opposition didn't have to make that travel, didn't have to make that trip. Sorry. So it's freaking confusing, mate.
I
It's
think the thing you have
confusing.
to include as well, Marley, is you also play friendlies, a couple of friendlies before you start the competition.
Yeah,
So if, like you said, Ghana, Costa Rica were playing a friendly in Africa or in Europe, then had to go all the way over to South America for one game of the competition, then come
exactly.
all the
Yeah,
way back after. It does sound a bit of a boo boo, but I wonder whether they
it's
can get
so
around that
nuts.
in some way.
That's why I was thinking maybe it would have been the entirety of the first round, because then it's confusing for everyone.
Because then you
And
could have a break, couldn't you? You could have a break in between that. So your group stages are finished. You've got a week, and then we'll start a week or 10 days. Then we'll start the knockout stages. That's what I thought should have worked. But having just three games and then expecting like a team from Africa or Asia, Oceania, or Europe to play their friendlies, then go all the way out to South America, play that one game, then come all the way back to Portugal, Spain, or Morocco. I
it's
just
so
prefer it in one
confusing.
place.
It's like it's a 5 hour time difference as well. Like you're asking players to adapt really quickly to some. It's crazy, man. It's crazy. It's just, it makes no sense. Plus the other, mate, the prelims for the World Cup, the World Cup qualifiers in South
Yeah.
America has 10 clubs, 10 countries. And with this, Paraguay, Chile, and Paraguay, Uruguay, and Argentina, apparently they're going straight to it, right?
Yeah.
So now you have seven. Like, why are you even gonna have the qualifiers? What is it, like two South American nations that are not going to be involved? Because
No,
usually,
wait.
like
You have six teams that are already in because they host it, right? That's what you're saying.
you have six teams. Oh, but I'm talking about South America alone. Because
Yeah, but
I think
will that
I think
change?
we
Will
were
you only
granted.
have like less teams trying to get in now because there's already three teams in it?
Okay, I don't know how they're gonna do that
Because I
math,
think
but it's
Europe's the same, isn't it? Because Europe obviously will have Spain and Portugal,
yeah. But
and they'll
then
have
like
the European. Is it not? It's not European, is it?
no,
For
yeah,
World Cup, is it?
but
Sorry, big.
but Europe has a lot of countries. So if you're adding two, then like Europe plays in like
Yeah,
I
I
don't
get
know,
that.
eight groups of four or something like that. Like no more than that. Like it's a crap load of countries there. And South America has more than 10 countries, but only 10 countries that play in this qualifiers, right? Like the others are pushed to the CONCACAF one. It's it's we're supposed to have six spots. Now you're granting three automatically. I mean, I don't think they're only gonna grant three more spots. So then if you just do the math, then you only have one team who's not gonna play in the World Cup. I'm assuming it's gonna be two at the end of the day. It's just like the entire thing is a
But it's
mess, man.
48 teams, isn't it, Marley? I forgot about that.
I know that's why South
So
America
maybe it'll
used
be
to have
more
four spots.
anyway. Maybe you'll just get more teams in South America playing in it.
It was already more. We used to have 4 spots. Now we have 6. But now 3 teams are automatically qualified. So if we still have 6 spots, you're talking about 7 teams competing for 6 spots, unless you subtract one of those spots because you already gave like
Yeah.
automatically gave a spot. I don't know how that's gonna work, but mate, if that's it, like money talks. Like financially, Spain, Portugal, and Morocco made more sense. But if they wanted to do something to do with tradition, if they wanted to like honor football in that way, just do it in Uruguay, Argentina, and Paraguay, man. Then do a World Cup somewhere else. This is freaking confusing. Not getting into the whole like 3 continents. Morocco, Spain, and Portugal are very close, but you can't put a you can't put a 9, 10 hour flight in the middle of a World Cup. That makes no sense. That makes no sense. Granting an automatic spot for a team that's going to play one game in a country makes no sense. It's the
Maybe to
whole
have
thing.
the semis and the final in South America,
Yeah, no,
maybe.
that would have been really cool. But I'm assuming Portugal, Spain, and Morocco would never be down for that. Like they want to
Of
have the
course
big
not.
games, right?
Yeah, no, of course not. It's always going to be a tug of war, isn't it, between
Yeah.
all the continents on who gets games, etc. Like we'll talk quickly about the UK and Ireland getting 2028 Euros, which is quite exciting. But yeah, I think for Spain and Portugal, they've never had it before. Spain have had it obviously in 1982, but Portugal would be their first time, and Morocco for the second African nation to host it as well. And how well they did in the World Cup, mate, last time
Yeah.
in Qatar. Kind of think they deserve to do it. I know politically at the moment it's going to be a little bit difficult with Morocco and what's going on, obviously, in Israel and Palestine and being so close. So I don't know whether that will deter things, maybe. But they do deserve it, I think, Morocco, don't they?
I I don't make that connection because I never saw performance influence too much when it
No,
comes
of
to
course.
when it comes to the country, right? Like it makes sense, sure. Yeah, Morocco were phenomenal. Like
But they're
that
bringing
was the
out good
thing.
talent, aren't they, Marley? That's what I'm
They
saying as well.
are, they
Actually,
are.
their footballing is getting better than what it used to be, and I think
Yeah, great. I mean, I don't know about the true like youngsters of Morocco, but I know that they're going through a really like special generation of players and exciting times. And yeah, like it's gonna be cool to have part of the World Cup in Morocco. And nice, but I don't know how much that comes into play, right? Like it's just like they try to be different. They claim to try to give equal opportunity to. That's why you have like World Cups in countries with that have like very little tradition when it comes to football.
yeah,
Most of the countries, most of the places we've had World Cups in the 21st century were very like untraditional footballing nations, right? Like other than Brazil and Argentina, sorry, Brazil and Germany, we didn't really have. Yeah, right. Because it was Japan, Korea. We've had South Africa. We've had Qatar, and we've had Russia. Those are not like countries with a boatload of tradition in the sport. I'm not complaining. I'm just saying like it's
no,
it's
I get you.
it's not as important, right?
No, so to finish off this subject, then, mate, I guess in what you're saying is it probably should be just held all in South America. It seems a little bit of a farce to. I mean, talking a little bit as well, Marley, about the fact that the carbon footprint as well, and people were trying to. FIFA have also come out saying they're trying to stop the carbon footprint, etc. This doesn't seem like it goes down in the right category, does it? If you've got people traveling from South America, like we said, to Europe to continue the rest of the tournament, I mean, how's that? I mean, are they're gonna lose support in some respect, aren't they, from the public for that, Matt? I
They're gonna
know.
lose. They're gonna
Political.
lose support, but they're still gonna make money. So it's money talks louder, man. Then yeah, a World Cup's not boycottable, right? Like you can't boycott a World Cup. Like it's never been. People were never able to pull it off. It's always attempted. Yeah. I don't quite remember if it was the World Cup or the Olympics, but people tried to boycott it back in 2014 or 2016. And by the time it's already been established, it's kind of dumb to try to boycott it, just because like we're in this situation already, so you might as well hope for the country to make money off of it. But it's always a weird discussion when you're trying to have a huge, expensive expensive event in a country that has a lot of suffering within, right? Like there is an argument to say that most World Cups should probably be held in first world countries, because third world countries should be spending their money somewhere else. It's tough to argue against that. Like sure, they might make money afterwards. People don't really get to know the result of that. They don't know who's making money. And I've never seen a country hold a big sporting event and improve the life quality, like get rid of some of the poverty, get rid of some of the violence, get rid of some of the health problems in the countries just as a result of that. Never seen that occur ever. So it's always a challenging topic, man, because yeah, these even countries that are technically filled with money now, like Qatar or Saudi Arabia attempting it for. We know that there are countries that can spend a lot of money, but we also know, we're not going to lie to ourselves or the world. We know that there's a lot of suffering in there too, a lot of problems there too. Every country has problems. Like
Yeah.
Sweden would hold the World Cup and they would be spending money that could be better spent. Because this is entertainment, man. This is not crucial. We don't need football in our lives, right? Like it's just for fun.
It is
But
just for
yeah,
fun.
it's touchy topic, man. Touchy.
It is. That's why it's a football politics show. Thank
Yeah.
you for looking into this, everybody. Smash a like, share, subscribe if you can. Just want to have your thoughts, Marley, on the fact, just quick one before we go on to Boca quickly,
Going
on
to Boca.
Boca and Fluminense. But just the fact that the UK and Ireland are hosting the 2028 Euros, which is, I think, brilliant to see. What do you make
Mhm.
of this, mate? This bit of news as well. I know you might not be too interested in the European Championships, but it's good. It's good for the UK. It's good for Ireland as well. I don't think Ireland or Scotland or Wales have ever hosted anything in European football or World Cup football for that matter. So
Okay.
this is exciting for them. I think their first chance as well, and I think it's good to see. And we're talking about demographically, like sharing a World Cup or a European Championships, but I don't think they're too far apart, these countries, so it can easily be done, can't it?
Yeah, yeah. I mean, England's one of those countries that doesn't need to share it with any other country, because there's more than enough within England to hold any sort of footballing event, right? Because it's the league with the most big clubs in the world. Like it's so organized, so rich. But for Ireland, it's great. And like England doesn't stand to lose anything from this either. And like it's just a big Great Britain event. Like it's cool. You're right. I don't pay too much attention into the Euros. Not even like Copa America is something that I don't watch too much. Like I watch it because it's the only football going on at the time, but I don't care about it too much. And I still don't think England's gonna win, but it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. Well, that being said, like it's an exciting time for England now, like with Bellingham playing the way he's playing, like a lot of really young, exciting young talent, exciting talent reaching their prime as well. Like it's yeah.
I think maybe a couple of the games might be at the Emirates as well, mate. And of course, Everton have their new
Undisputed.
ground as well, so they'll be using that. They'll be using a Tottenham Hotspur new stadium. I know you won't like that one too much, but yeah, I just think it's good. It's good to see because I think obviously the last Euros was at Wembley actually, which is quite weird actually because we kind of did host it in a weird sense because pretty much every single England game was on English turf apart from one of the games which is in Hungary. But the final that we played in against Italy, which you can see there with the champions, there they are holding it at Wembley. It's gonna be at Wembley again. I maybe thought it could have been given to maybe one of the other countries, possibly. I know Wembley is a lot bigger than some of the stadiums in Dublin of course, Belfast, Glasgow, but Cardiff's got a big stadium too. But mate, it is what it is. At the end of the day, it's good to see that we've got it. I think Turkey pulled out in the end, and they were the only two nation bids. So when one pulls out, you got to give it to somebody else, haven't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, well, Marley, I only want to quickly talk about that one, but what we want to just finish up on, mate. What we want to finish up on is talking about Boca, don't we, eh? But hang on, before we do that, not just Boca, but Fluminense as well. But Anthony Herbert, big up Tweedledee and Tweedledum, LOL. It doesn't matter where it's held to. It's a World Cup at the end of the day. Look at the last Euros being held in different European countries.
The difference is that the entirety of Europe without Russia is the size of Brazil. Europe's a really small continent. It has a lot of countries, but it's a really small continent. If you're spreading it, like there's literally an ocean dividing like Argentina, Uruguay, and Paraguay from Morocco, Spain, and Portugal. So it's logistically it's a nightmare.
Yeah, I do agree. Europe is a lot more smaller, Anthony. You can travel to the south of Europe in 3 or 4 hours flight, but if you're traveling across from Brazil to Peru or Chile or Colombia, it can take like 6 hours, mate, right?
Yeah, I mean, just south of Brazil to north of Brazil, that's about a 5-hour flight. Yeah, I mean, one extremity of the continent to the other would probably be like around 6 or 7. But I'm talking like the big issue would be like traveling from one continent to the other, though. Like
Yeah.
traveling within like Argentina, Paraguay, Uruguay, that's close enough. But just like when it's far.
That's what we're saying, Anthony. Like, yes, it could be held in South America, but holding it in 3 different continents is different from holding it in one continent, like the Euros was last year.
Just a very quick asterisk. This has nothing to do with football, guys. But one of the phenoms on earth that I admire the most, that blows my mind the most, is the existence of so many people that believe that the world is flat. And one of the big arguments that flat earthers have is that there are no flights from the northern hemisphere straight to the southern hemisphere, or straight flights from south to south. So just having a World Cup that touches the two ends, right? Like both north and south, could be kind of cool. Just to see if some people like stop holding on to that belief. I don't want them to because I love flat earthers, but just very quickly, I wanted to say this.
You're not a flat earther, though, are you, Marley?
No. I admire because I think it's mind blowing. Like believing in something like that, I think it's special, and I
Well, you know
admire
the
them.
theory of Eratosthenes, don't you? In way back when, don't you? Eratosthenes between Alexandria and Syene.
Nah,
And
you were around there. I wasn't.
No, I read history, mate. You know, it's
No,
called
yeah,
education.
I missed that one. I missed that one. No, I do not know what you're talking about.
Well, it's about shade, basically. The fact that he discovered, like, from one obelisk in Alexandria between the other obelisk in Syene, which I think is around 700 miles or something like that, which is a big difference. The shades were a different size at the same exact time. And the only reason that they would be a different size at the same time is because the world would be round. Otherwise, they'd be the same size at the same time if it was flat. Ladies and gentlemen, Eratosthenes from Greece as well. Big up to him.
It's been a very diverse stream, right? Like,
Yeah, it's a politics show, mate. You can talk about stuff like that. It's fine. Anthony Herbert, Marley, you cheeky sod. I wasn't born then. Yeah, you were, Anthony.
you were born before then.
It's like Interview with a Vampire. You know how vampires have so many lives and they go through so many decades and so many different time zones. Anthony, that's you. That's definitely you, mate. Question: Brazil won't get to out of the group stages, but I still love you, cuz.
How's that a question?
No, that's a comment, isn't it?
Yeah, that's a comment.
You want to question the comment? No.
I do want to question the comment. That's only happened once in the history of the World Cups. Brazil is only unable to go through the group stages once. It was back in 1966. I don't think I don't think it's ever going to happen again unless we're really unlucky in the draw. But I actually think Brazil is going to be better in the years to come than we have been. So yeah, I disagree with that.
He disagrees with you, Anthony. Wrong fellow. DWTT. Thanks for tuning in. Hello, hello.
Love you, Gary. Welcome
My
back.
prediction is Boca Juniors win 7-0. Oh,
Okay.
well,
Okay.
let's just to quickly finish up there, Marley, mate, because we got the live watch along coming up in about 3 weeks' time, 4th of November. Boca Juniors versus Fluminense. Boca Juniors of Argentina, Fluminense of Brazil for the Copa Libertadores final. And mate, what are you going to say? Because you're going to be watching this somewhere, hopefully in the stadium, maybe in a bar. But
Yeah.
man, you're really tense and tight about this, man.
I'm
How
so
long's
tense.
it been since you made a final now?
Fluminense only made the Libertadores final once. It was back in 2008, and we lost. Back then, it was played in 2 games. So we lost the first game in Ecuador. We won the second one. We lost on PKs. Very controversial decisions throughout. Like Brazilian teams are usually screwed over by the refs in South America with VAR that tends to change slightly, but it hasn't improved all the way through. But yeah, man, big game, big game. Like we have this thing. I said in the beginning of the stream, just like I'm an Arsenal and a Fluminense fan, so I'm afraid that my teams are not able to win like international competitions. That it's just a curse that we have. But okay, getting to the game itself, yeah, I'm not gonna be present. Like, don't count on me on the stream because I on the watch along because I'm gonna be way too nervous for it. Even if I watch from home, I'm not gonna be in a state of mind to be able to share my existence with you people.
A few
Sorry.
minutes, we'll have a chat maybe about the game after a week or two, or whenever you feel like you've recovered.
If Fluminense wins, I'm sure I'm gonna be excited to talk about it. If Fluminense loses, you might not see me for a couple of months. But it's nerve wracking, man. Boca is the biggest team in the continent, right? Like they're not the best team in the continent. They haven't been for a while now, but they're the second biggest winners in the history of the Libertadores. I think they're the biggest winners in Argentina. They're massive. Like I don't remember the number exactly, but out of like 28 times that Boca faced a Brazilian team in a knockout stage, whatever knockout stage in the Libertadores, they won like 21. They're like Brazilian killers. They've won 3 finals against Brazilian teams. They've lost once. Back in 2012, that's when Corinthians went up to beat Chelsea in the Club World Cup. That team had beaten Boca in the final. They haven't been doing well whatsoever. Like they've lost the last 2 or 3 finals they've played. I think only once did Boca play a team that had never won the Libertadores and beat them. That was a Brazilian team, Cruzeiro, because I think. And other than that, like they've created new champions. They have a big history with Fluminense. This is going to be the 3rd time that we face each other in a knockout. Fluminense won in the semifinals in 2008 before we lost the final, and 2011, I think Boca Juniors eliminated Fluminense with the away goal advantage, I think. And this is going to be like, the decider who's going to jump in front. Boca has been dreadful attacking wise. This is the first time that a team reaches the final of the competition, not having won a single game in the knockout stages. They drew all 6 games from ever since he joined Boca, or I don't know, like in the Libertadores or something like the last 21 PKs that were taken against Romero, the former United keeper. He saved 13. He saved 13. Like his PK stopping right now is just something scary to a point where Fluminense fans are very aware that we either win the game or we're done. Like if we go to PK,
Can we have him back at Man United? I'm not too keen on Anana at the moment.
right? Like maybe he'd be helping you out a little more. Yeah, he's doing well. He's doing well. And yeah, they lost their captain. He got a red card in the last game against Palmeiras. They have Cavani, so they're always going to be very dangerous. They're a team that defends really well, clearly, like they don't lose games really. And they do have very, very fast, like counter-attacking players. They're kind of scary for Fluminense, but at the same time that it's kind of a nightmare for us, stylistically, we're a bigger nightmare for Boca as well. Because Fluminense does a lot with the ball. Like Diniz is literally the only manager in the world who plays in the style that he plays. It's very Brazilian, but it's very different from anything that's been seen lately. So Fluminense has so much possession. Fluminense has a lot of different tools to create play. It might be a little overwhelming, but the thing is, Boca is like Fluminense is an ant close to Boca. Fluminense is a big Brazilian club. We're a medium South American club. We're playing against. This is like a final, Champions League final with I don't know, West Ham playing Real Madrid. Like it's how I can put it more or less. Like we're a much smaller team. We're doing better. We have an amazing manager. We have the two most prolific striker in the world right now for 2 seasons already. In Germancano, who scored like 38 goals in the season already. He's fantastic, but it's Boca. It's freaking scary.
You were saying that maybe some people that were in Europe would know what players are playing for both clubs. You got
Yeah,
Marcelo from Real Madrid, who was at Real Madrid, of course, and you
yeah,
got Cavani as well, and Romero.
yeah.
At
I
Boca.
can name them. It's so yeah, Boca has Romero. They have Rojo as well, who used to be a defender for United, but he got a red card, so he's not going to be in the final. He was the captain. You have Cavani, who recently joined Boca, hasn't been doing well. I think it's 2 or 3 goals in like 12 games or so. Hasn't been doing well whatsoever. The manager is really like if he had lost the semifinals, he would have been fired. He would have been sacked. So it's things are very unstable there. Boca Juniors are like in 11th in the league right now. They're not doing well. And on the Fluminense side, there's more famous players. You have Marcelo, obviously the left back. Felipe Melo is a defender for Fluminense. He's 40 years old now. Ganso is a player that's kind of famous as well. He used to play in the Seleção. So we have a couple of players. Marlon, who used to play for Barcelona. You have Andre, who's an upcoming player who Liverpool's chasing for a while now. You have Cano, who's scoring a lot of goals. Yes, there's some stars in there. There's always going to be exciting talent because the academies and for Boca and Fluminense are very good, very solid historically, like historical academies. Yeah, man, it's a clash of different styles. We don't know exactly what Boca is going to try to do because the teams that found success against Fluminense are teams that are able to pressure us like deep, pressure. So they have to have a lot of legs and just be able to cope with how fast Fluminense can pass the ball. Like it's very dynamic. And I don't think Boca has the tools to do just that when you're playing in Rio, close to the summer in the afternoon. I don't think they're gonna have the legs to be chasing our players that much. That being said, if they defend, like they have the best defensive display they've ever had, and we don't pay attention to the counterattack, like our defense is really slow. Fluminense has two very slow center backs. One of them is amazing, but he's slow. Marcelo can't run anymore. The other the right back is 33 as well. So your Fluminense only relies on one DM. That's André, who I've mentioned multiple times, and like best DM in the past years in Brazil, like ridiculous player. But you're only relying on his recoveries to keep us from like conceding counterattacking goals. That's scary because Boca does have some fast players. They have a mate. They have he looks Irish or English. He's so ginger. So like he looks like he was born in Ireland. Like you don't have a lot of South Americans with that DNA, right? Like it's rare in here. But yeah, this young player, I think.
McAllister, but yeah, I get you.
Yeah, no, but McAllister looks like Hugh. I'm talking like he looks like a Weasley, mate. He looks like a Weasley, like from the Harry Potter movies. Like it's
Oh,
something yeah, like very traditional. Like it's the origin of that, like Scotland, Ireland, all of that.
right.
And yeah, but he's this tiny player. I don't even remember his name, but like he had an amazing game against Palmeiras. So yeah, it's gonna be a clash of different styles, really nerve wracking game, and yeah, I'm
He says it's a old people's home, mate. But you know, at the end, Willian, by the way,
oh,
is old and he's playing for Fulham, and he had a really good game this weekend. So it's not at all, mate. Look at Thiago Silva playing for Chelsea. How old's he? All
and
right.
Fluminense tried to get him as well. Nah, yeah, man, Fluminense, like we don't have a lot of players in that like 24, 25 area. Like we're usually youngsters and like what we say under 40s, right? Like we have Felipe Melo who's 40, our goalkeeper's 43, our striker's 35, Marcelo's 35. It's an aging squad, but you mix it up with some babies.
Well, I'm not going to ask you a prediction because I'm absolutely dying to go for a toilet break. But thank you, Carly, for coming on. Well, actually, maybe we'll do a preview about it. Maybe you'd like to do that a week before, maybe, and get some guests on. Maybe we'll talk about it, Marley. It's just I've just
I
thrown
think
that.
we're expected to do a show like that on the Fita show as well, but nothing stops us from doing it twice.
I was not in Harry Potter, mate. Absolutely not. But if you want me to be, I can try out for it. I can definitely act. Okay, finishing it off there, Marley. Thank you so much for joining us again, mate. Where can we find you? I'm going to put you on solo. I am going to do it. Done.
You found me. You found me. This is my home. This is my channel with Maddie. This is where I love to be. You can follow me on Instagram if you choose to. Nothing football related there. Just if you want to be my pal. That's about it. Do support our friends at Golasso Kits. Look up the last Fita show for a promo code. There it is, the link, and support this lovely channel with these lovely people, with Maddie, with Anthony Cuz. Yes, that's it. That's my piece. Thank you for having me once again.
Brilliant. Thank you, mate. And everybody tuning, I think we're going live. When are we going live again? Actually, crap, we haven't got anything going on because the international break. So Fita show on the Sunday. I probably will do another football politics show during the week, but we got hopefully the Fita show on Sunday, possibly Marley. We'll
Yeah, maybe the GFAC on Thursday. I don't think that's been ruled out.
Oh yeah, of course.
Yeah.
Yes. Anthony will do the GFAC on Thursday, talking about the Man City win. Of course you will. Of course you will. Of course you'll gloat and boat. But boast and gloat, sorry. But thank you everybody for tuning in today. Smash the like, share, subscribe. We will see you again on Thursday. But until then, have a pleasant rest of your day or your week. Bye-bye.